With great power comes great responsibility, even in fantasy football. We've got 2025 Superflex mock draft coming your way for 12-team PPR drafts. All this and more. It's the IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're officially back in the heart of home league draft season, and with the response that we had opening our first ever Superflex leagues at Draft Night Out, we decided it's only right that we dive into the Superflex streets right here on the program. That's right, we've got a Superflex mock draft for you tonight. I'm your host, Seth Wilcock, and I'm fired up as we inch closer and closer to the fall season. There'll be fires, there'll be hoodies, and yes, there'll be Busch Lights. And of course, football nearly every single day. And today I'm back with my OGs on the show, including a man who proved he is an absolute stick out there on the golf course. Tore it up with me in the inaugural IBT Classic, Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, great to be back with you. What a run a few weeks ago out there in Canton, my friend.
Yeah, it was an awesome time. You know what? The boomstick showed up for me, and let me tell you, that is not a common occurrence that driver is that good. But I was scorching them out there. But you had the shot of the tournament, and I think that needs to be mentioned. A double hit out of the air chip shot from about 40 yards out got us our birdie for our first birdie of the
blind
day.
Shot.
On like a hole that was elevated. There was a rock wall in front of you. It was amazing. That was the shot of the day.
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a terrible hit. Me, Pat, Scott, we're all down below the green. You were the only one who actually could see it. I barely hit the fringe, rolls in 80 feet. So I appreciate you shouting that out. What a time it was. And very happy to be back with you today on the show, my friend. And also back in the saddle is our big business, light ranching son of a gun. Alone during the days now, I believe, because once again, kids back in class. Eric, raise him up, a roam off. Eric, how are you doing as we are certainly in the thick of it right now?
Yeah, out here trying to navigate the preseason / camp hype trains, all these rockets to the moons, all these players deciding to switch up their names, trying to keep us all confused at the last minute. This is the pinnacle of the news flood information. We're out here trying to navigate it all.
Yeah, 100%, man. You couldn't go anywhere on social media over the last 40 hours without the name JCM being shouted in various
BCM.
Directions. Apparently BCM, because Bill is what he wants to go by. Also joining us, not Bill, but a guy who calls the shots behind the scenes of this particular program. Everyone's favorite Yinzer Ginger and former IUP Crimson Hawk, baby. It's Kyle Scott. Jim, great to be back with you. I hope you've also recovered from what was an absolute rip out there in Ohio a few weeks ago for Draft Night Out and the IBT Classic, my friend.
Oh, yeah. I still am thinking about Canton, how much fun it was, and I'm still replaying. I got one par when we were playing on the golf course, and I see it in my dreams, how perfect the ball went. It was great. Kent was a great time, and it's almost as fun as being on a podcast with my boys here.
I appreciate it, man. And yeah, no, shout out to you and Elliot. You were tailing the field. You guys were playing your own ball too. You weren't in scramble format. That would have been a tough course playing just by yourself. So, I don't know if I would have had too many pars. So live on that, dream about it, and it'll keep you motivated till next time we play, my friend. As always, before we get into the breakouts or the mock draft tonight, we did want to shout out the IBT family who's tuning in. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure you're subscribing. Come be a part of our story as we continue to grow. Also, if you want more of us, please consider joining the IBT football family. That's our premium community where you can get access to our memorabilia giveaways, live Q&A shows, weeks 1 through 18 with our guys, Phil and Ben. Also, you can join the conversation with myself, Steve, Kyle, Eric, all our analysts, all our friends in the Discord. We also are going to put our full betting cards for both the CFB slate and the NFL slate in there as well. And you can also get access into our touchdown contest. Make your picks weekly. Get a shot at winning a beautiful plaque from our friends over at Dynasty Deck. So very, very excited for that. Very excited for what the program has in store for us, gentlemen. And speaking of that, the link to that is in the episode description. Just $3.99 per month or $36 per year. You're going to get access to the football family, the NASCAR family, and more sports, some entertainment on the way in for that. And real quick, wanted to shout out our new friends over at myTickets. myTickets is on a mission to save $4 million on tickets this year by helping you buy at the right time. Their auto buy feature automatically purchases tickets for you during price drops. And you can try their buy now tracking, which notifies you when tickets are projected to be at their absolute cheapest so you can save the most. Whether you're trying to attend your favorite sporting event, maybe a concert, potentially even a musical, myTickets has you covered. Go to mytickets.com and use the promo code IBT to start saving up to 20% or more on your next event. Again, that's mytickets.com. Use that promo code IBT when you sign up. It's free to sign up. It would do us such a solid favor if you could go over there. Support our sponsors is supporting us. So thank you to myTickets for powering this program. And Eric, I don't know if you've heard the news, but the Jonas Brothers concert, they've been lit. I'm already scouring the internet right now as well for some Penn State whiteout tickets against Oregon. Pricey. Let me just say that. But myTickets, I'm right now tracking it, and they're projecting that tickets are going to get cheaper here in about 3 weeks. So I'm just trying to, hold back the reins before I pull the trigger on those.
Yeah, myTickets can definitely help you find the most opportune time to click that button and make that purchase. But also, I don't know if this is in the terms of our agreement or not. I'm sure you can use our promo code and get that nice little savings on top of it, right? So if you're out there, if you're trying to make it to more events, if you got some concerts heading to your town, you want to travel to go to an event. I've been in myTickets probably once a week, just loading up different events that I'm either very or somewhat interested in. And if a deal comes across, I'll just pull the trigger and I'll head to wherever that event is, right? Like it is an addicting platform to be in there and playing around in, right? I'm kind of ancillary on the events game, but now that I have myTickets, I'm looking at it on the regular.
Yeah, it's kind of like gamifying the ticket buying experience. Usually I hate buying tickets because, there's always going to be fees. There's always going to be these other things put in there. myTickets actually a lot lower fees and taxes than everyone else because they don't have a huge marketing budget, right? I mean, they're sponsoring podcasts like this. So it tells you that they're not putting a ton of money out there in the marketing, but just back into their product. So again, mytickets.com, use that promo code IBT and you won't be sad that you did. Boys, let's go ahead, though. We got no time to waste. Let's jump right into the mock draft, front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place where you have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, we are doing a super flex, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex, six bench spots, full PPR, 12 teams, 15 rounds. No tight end premium, suckers. I'm sorry. No tight end premium. Usually we do that when we are in these super flex streets, but not in the redraft format. Eric will be drafting from the 3 spot, Steve at the 7, and I'm at the turn playing from the 12 here. And we are using the Fantasy Pros mock draft wizard that can be found at fantasypros.com/mock. Not only because I am a company man, but also because I believe that by using ECR rankings, using consensus ADP, it gives you the most realistic mock draft experience that other platforms just aren't offering. So make sure you're checking it out at fantasypros.com/mock. And let's go ahead, boys. Let's jump in here. Eric, you have been drafting from the back of a lot of leagues. Do you feel happy that you grabbed a third overall pick here?
Yeah, I mean, generally, I like to mix it up a little bit, right? Part of the not only the fun but the benefit of mocking and going through some of these trial runs is just kind of seeing how different teams come together based on where you are, and specifically in the Superflex format, there is a distinct advantage to being one of those top 4 spots. So I'm sure we'll see what I'm anticipating play out in those top 4 picks, and from there, I think you have a really good foundation to get kind of creative with how you build the rest of your roster.
Yeah, it's definitely a who's who, in my opinion, at the top of the board. Like, there's a lot of safety. If you can get one of those top 5 quarterbacks, even a Jamar Chase would be absolutely awesome too. But, back half of the draft, you can really kind of do some different things and kind of hedge yourself and try to build your roster different ways, play into those strengths. So off the board first, it does look like it is our guy, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen at the 102. Then Jane Daniels took you, Eric, at the 103. Was that a pretty easy decision for you? You weren't going wide receiver. You weren't going with a potential another quarterback in like a Hurts or a Burrow?
Yeah, one of those top 4, Lamar, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts are who I'm specifically targeting in Superflex before I start considering any skill position players. And in Jaden Daniels' case in particular, kind of splitting the tie between him and Jalen Hurts, I think that there's still a fair amount of upside to his game that is yet to be tapped into, specifically his ability to complete balls against man coverage and what he will be able to do with a little bit better protection with Laramie Tunsil coming in this year. Whereas Jalen Hurts, I feel like we kind of saw his ceiling last season. So, I mean, we're splitting hairs between, number 3 and number 4 off the board, but just enough upside there for me to go after Daniels.
Okay, fair enough. And looks like we got Jamie checking in with us live. What's up, Jamie? Good to hear from you, man. Got to meet Jamie out there in Canton a couple weeks ago. So, Jamie, so blessed you made some time for us out there, some time for our events, and great to see you once again in the chat, man. After the pick of Jaden Daniels, it's Jamar Chase at the 104. First non-quarterback goes 105. It is Jalen Hurts. 106, Joe Burrow. Steve, you were in a predicament where it really was a tier break after those top 6 spots, in my opinion. If Hurts or Burrow fell there, would you have taken them? And who did you ultimately select in the 107, please?
Yeah, I would have taken. I probably would have. I probably would have taken one of those quarterbacks at my spot if they had fallen.
Yeah.
But there is that very obvious tier break after the top 5 go, and I wasn't gonna sit there and reach on Patrick Mahomes or anyone like that. So I went with Bijan, I guess, Robinson, who is pretty much consensus RB1 on the season. And I'm like, you know what? Rather than getting a back end QB1, high end QB2, why not get pretty much the best running back in the draft this year and solidify that for my team? And sometimes I take a minute on these quarterback picks, even in Superflex.
Yeah, there's certainly a tier break, so I don't mind you, kind of zigging when others are zagging. Kyler Murray off the board at the 108, Patrick Mahomes at the 109, and then Baker Mayfield 110, Bo Nix 111. And Steve, I'm right there with you, man. I have had some shakeup in my overall player rankings as of lately. Before, this would have been almost an absolute auto draft for me when it comes to Justin Jefferson. He is banged up, though, so I've actually moved CeeDee Lamb above him, and I don't like the quarterbacks here. I'm going to hope that some of my, more favorite picks, I would say, come back to me here and at the quarterback position at the 3-4 turn. So I am looking forward to that, but I think it is going to be CeeDee Lamb for me. And then while there are a lot of good running backs on the board, I think some people will be clamoring for wide receivers here. So I am going to double dip at wide receiver here. I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Give me arguably the most stacked wide receiver core anyone could ask for in this format. And you guys know me. There's some running backs that I do like. Like, I would love a Barkley here. I'd love a Gibbs. But in my opinion, I'm actually more on a guy. I mean, I guess I'll do Ashton Genty. I'm hoping he comes back, so don't snipe me, Steve. But the picks are CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson off the board. For me, I'm going Justin Herbert next at the 202, Saquon Barkley 203, Jahmyr Gibbs at the 204, and 205 is Christian McCaffrey. So, Steve, a run of running backs right after I diss them. And are you going to go RB? Is it a receiver time for you?
No, it's receiver time. You know what? I got the 7th pick, and I've been pretty consistent about who I picked there. So
yeah,
I made a point not to. Buddy fell, and you know what? I can't say no. I can't get enough. It's like I'm jonesing for him. I'm going with him. It's Malik Neighbors time all day on my team. Bring him here.
Yeah, dude, you've been very consistent, Malik Neighbors. I have no problem taking him there. The injury concerns are really the only thing that hold me back from absolutely going all in on him, but he's still my wide receiver 4 overall in my rankings. He's still a top 5 or top 6 player for me in redraft formats, non-Superflex. So I'm happy with that pick for you. Bijan Malik Neighbors, that feels good. Puka Nacua off the board at 207. Puka, I've seen him dropping in a lot of drafts, but a good spot for him, I think, here, despite the injuries to Matthew Stafford. Ashton Genty, well, someone was listening. The AI was listening to me. He goes off the board at the 208. Justin Fields at the 209. And then, Eric, you make a selection. You get your first wide receiver, your wide receiver 1, a Detroit Lion.
Yeah, happy to take Amon-Ra St. Brown essentially at the 2-3 turn. That value is just absolutely incredible. Obviously, there are open and legitimate questions about what this offense will be now that Ben Johnson is coaching another team in the division. But I think largely they know where their bread is buttered, and that is a heavy foundation of targets over to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So there very much so could be different schemes, different looks, but he will continue to be a priority. We saw his target share drop down by 22 passes last year alone, and he was still able to finish as the wide receiver 4 at nearly 19 points per game. So getting him this deep into the second round is obviously something that I am happy to see, and that now puts me back on the board with my 3rd round pick, and I'll double tap with someone who's going to be catching plenty of balls, but doing so out of the backfield. Chase Brown, the RB1 upside for the Cincinnati runner there, now sitting on my roster in the 3rd round.
Yeah, to round out the second round there, in between Eric's picks, Derrick Henry at the 211, Caleb Williams at the 212, Nico Collins at the 301, Jared Goff at the 302, and then it is Chase Brown, it is Devon Achane following him, and then Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott off the board. Steve, you still don't have a quarterback in the 3rd round. Are you going 0 quarterback, or do you make that selection here?
I will say this. I am a big fan of let the board tell you what you need to do. After the first 2 rounds, you kind of have to just take it as it comes. And the board is telling me it is time to go for a quarterback and solidify that QB1 position in Superflex. I'm going with a guy who has just been rising and rising and rising in my opinion. And I'm going to stick nice and close to home with my guy. I'm going to root for the hometown boy now. Give me Drake May.
That was absolutely the guy I was targeting there. So, Steve, congratulations on that pick, my friend. And I agree with you, man. I think Drake May is one of the best picks you can make in Superflex formats. He's a quarterback 1 upside play that you're getting at a QB2 price tag. So well done from the kid right there, man. I think that was very, very sharp on you and for waiting as long as you can. Just like Jamie says, love that Drake May pick. Certainly. Brian Thomas off the board at the 308, Jackson Smith-Njigba at the 309, CJ Stroud at the 310, and it is Drake London coming off the board at the 311. So a lot of good picks coming down there. I am very, very mixed here, boys, but I think I'm gonna do it just for the crowd, for the reaction, to see what happens. I mean, it's a mock draft, right? I mean, this isn't my usual build here, but I think I'm gonna go with a little bit of unconventional strategy here. First pick, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull the trigger. I haven't drafted him in many drafts this offseason, but I didn't get his counterpart there in Las Vegas. So give me a little Brock Bowers action here. I will gladly take a little bit of Brock Bowers. And then also, I'll follow that up with another pick. I need to get my RB1. I don't like waiting this long. I would have loved if a Genty, a Chase Brown, even a Derrick Henry or an Achane came back to me. They didn't. I will part ways with them, and I will gladly take Josh Jacobs at the 401. He's someone to me. He's still a sit it and forget it RB1, despite the question marks around the Green Bay Packers offensive line, despite the question marks of pass catcher. But I think it will once again be a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs early and often in leagues this season. Tyreek Hill comes off the board at the 402, A.J. Brown at the 403, Ladd McConkey at the 404, and Bucky Irving off the board at the 405. So some wide receivers, RBs going here. Steve, is an opportunity for you to double tap quarterback back to back, or do you go back to the position realm?
I could double tap the quarterback position, but you shouldn't, right? Again, look at what's around you. Look at what you need, right? Like now the quarterbacks have slowed down. It seems like the algorithm is kind of saying like, hey, the elite ones are gone. The guys you really want are gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for the position players to really dominate. And this man that I'm about to pick has just been, I feel like he's been pretty disrespected this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's talking about him because the quarterback battle that finally settled today has been a mess. And I don't know why we're not hyping this man up. He was a top 10 guy again last year pretty easily. Give me JT all day long.
Oh man, the depth of Jonathan Taylor, and like I just don't know if there's a lot of upside. It's just the pass catching really disappeared from me last year. So you are losing that, but you are looking at a guy who most weeks he's going to be sitting right around what, even money, maybe minus 120 for a touchdown every week. So you're relying on volume, and you're also relying on him to continue to see the end zone at the end of the day. So I don't hate the pick there, but I'm definitely lower on Jonathan Taylor than I think consensus is. So going back to the board after Steve's pick, it is Trey McBride, second tight end off the board at the 407, Kyron Williams at the 408, and T. Higgins at the 409. So how are you feeling here, Eric? You have one quarterback, one wide receiver, and a running back, very high upside plays, though. What do you do at the 410? Is it time for your second quarterback, or will we punt that a little bit longer?
Yeah, this is kind of a weird spot in the draft, and in terms of kind of tiers at really all of the positions out there. For me, we've talked a lot about what happens if you wait on quarterback, especially in the face of these deep quarterback runs. Steve, you mentioned that the algorithm is slowing down because those top tier guys are off the list. Honestly, I don't think it's that the top tier guys are off the list. I think it's pretty much all guys are off the
5
list.
seconds.
So when we're getting down in the doldrums here, I'm happy to go out and get Jordan Love, who is still one of the more arm talented quarterbacks in all of the league, but also a guy that throws to the end zone a ton and has a shiny new weapon in Matthew Golden. So to get him here at my QB2, while there are guys that might not hold the job all year as the alternatives on the list, happy to bring him in.
Did you reference arm talent just to kind of sprinkle in our little pre-show conversation?
I absolutely did, yeah. And that arm talent conversation lives and dies in Green Bay. Brett Favre was very much so the gunslinger, and that arm talent was given a lot of leash. His successor, Aaron Rodgers, really changed the guard in the NFL in terms of tolerance for interceptions. And now Jordan Love kind of splits the difference, right? Still very talented arm, a little less reckless than old number 4, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed with you there, man. I would have loved to see Love come back and potentially do a little Packer stack here. But needless to say, that did not happen. So it is James Cook that comes off the board next at the 411, Garrett Wilson at the 412, Omarion Hampton at the 501, and Devontae Adams at the 502. And, sometimes this is the issue with doing what I did and going with this zero quarterback build is I feel left out on an island. I still like a lot of the position players that are going off the board. I feel elite in a lot of other situations, but feeling a little bit rushed here, a little bit just not great, not comfortable. It's not a good feeling going zero QB. We'll see how the experts think of it at the end. Eric, you are up on the board at the 503. You have your two quarterbacks. What's the move now?
Yeah, literally everyone I was hoping would fall to me on the turn back around is now gone. So have to pivot a little bit. I'm gonna head over to Terry McLaurin whenever the draft restarts. I am not worried about the contract situation and the prolonged holdout or him not being at the preseason game last week. Right, he is a player that is tailor made for not only this offense but what Jaden Daniels does. He's coming off of his best season in his career, a fairly long running career. So I like him to keep it going. I like Debo to open things up a little bit for him in this offense, and in turn, he makes a perfect wide receiver too in this type of build.
Okay, Terry McLaurin's going to be the pick. Steve, I'm a little lower on McLaurin, I think, than most people, just because I don't really like these situations where someone's missing time, right, in camp. And we saw it last year with Brandon Ayuk. It led to a bigger issue down the stretch.
It is a problem. I agree. I am absolutely in agreement with you.
He's not a rookie. He's like an 8-year vet. He doesn't need these camp reps.
I don't really care. It's less about it's more just like the conditioning for me, to be honest with you.
I think we've seen historically a significant uptick in soft tissue injuries for players who have missed a significant portion of training camp.
I feel like this is purely speculation.
Well, let's look at it this way, right? Like, so stretching, right, like is a good idea to do before you do any sort of physical activity, right? But in terms of NFL, this is about as intense of physical activity as one person could do in the world. There is nothing that is more physically demanding potentially in sport than the NFL game. You have missed a full month that is dedicated to getting you ready for that high impact, that high intensity, that really violent game. And you have opted to not participate in that preparation. That is going to lead you to a very, very, very increased risk of injury, just like not stretching before you go for a run would do, right? You're at higher risk. It's not that, like, listen, I've been an athlete my entire life. And if I don't at least, I haven't been the biggest proponent of warm-ups in my life, but even as a pitcher in college,
Stretch it out.
I at least needed a 10 pitches to like get my arm ready to go before I like went out there and just started slinging it. You know what I mean? So there's definitely something to the idea that, they need these reps, they need this time. And I would be worried.
Well, also there's a whole factor that he might not even be on the Commanders. Like that seems like a growing possibility. I didn't think so either.
I
don't know, man. Rap Sheet the other day, I was listening to him, and he was fairly confident that the teams are starting to call again. So I don't know.
Of course they are.
We got to keep it moving here. So we're gonna let Terry McLaurin rest at the 503. Trevor Lawrence, I would have loved to get as my QB1. He's gone at the 504. Mike Evans at the 505. Breece Hall at the 506. Steve, you're back up on the clock here at the 507. Pretty balanced build for you so far. 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and a QB. Do you get that second quarterback here, or is it another position player for you, my friend?
It's going to be another position player, and that is because I'm looking at the quarterbacks available, and it's J.J. McCarthy, Tua Tagovailoa, Bryce Young. Like, don't want to touch those, right? That's not exciting. That's kind of ugly. It's gross. But there are some position players that really have caught my eye, and I am torn currently. I do have 2 running backs, and that is impacting my decision pretty substantially. That's going to lean me toward wide receiver and not toward the guy that I think most people would take in this situation, but the guy who I think has the biggest upside this season.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
Give me Tataroa McMillan.
Yep, I knew it.
Out of Carolina. I am very excited about the young rook and what he's going to do in that offense. I think this guy legitimately has 1,300 yard, 10 touchdown upside. Like, easy. I'm talking 80 catches, 1,300 yards, 10, 11, 12 touchdowns. I think the offense will run through him.
Yeah, I'm in very much agreement with you, my friend. I think it's a great pick. I would have liked to make that pick myself. Tedero McMillan. I mean, you start playing the game, Tedero McMillan or blank has more targets. That list is going to get pretty short pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if he's pacing inside the top 12 for targets by the end of this thing. So like that there. I'm going to go with a guy I think I could maybe get a back half stack with at the quarterback position. I'm going to finally pull the trigger. Give me J.J. McCarthy. A lot of upside for this kid. He was more mobile at Michigan than people think. I still believe that if J.J. McCarthy was in this 2025 draft class, he would have been the first overall pick. And look, Sam Darnold, say what you want about Sam Darnold, but he was a QB1 last season in this Kevin O'Connell scheme. I get the Justin Jefferson and the J.J. McCarthy stack with this as well. So I love that. And there's potential to add someone like Addison, add a TJ Hawkinson maybe later in this draft as well. So I clean up there. Really like a lot of these receivers on the board. So I'd love to add a third wide receiver. However, I can't stop. And I won't stop. I'm doing it. Yeah, give me Travion Henderson, boys. I've been there before the hype. Eric, you and I talked about him last week as one of my breakouts. And an offense like Josh McDaniels that loves to use his running backs, a guy coming in this that can pass block better than almost anyone in this last draft class. He's going to be on the field often, being a little bit of a timeshare starting out, but I think he'll soon overtake Ramondre Stevenson. And with Josh Jacobs being my RB1, I do want another guy that I think has RB1 upside. I think Travion Henderson represents a tier break there that no one else will have that upside. Oh, and I shouldn't, man, not loving that pick now. So DJ Moore off the board at 602, 603, Tua Tagovailoa, and Cam Ward. I was really hoping maybe Cam Ward could come back to me and I wouldn't have to double tap him. I was off by about 15 picks, so shame on me for that. Steve, you go Jalen Waddle to 606, another guy you've been drafting a ton of this offseason in our mocks.
Yeah, and he's just rising higher and higher and higher and higher in my offseason, in my preseason rankings. Listen, things with Tyreek Hill are not looking good. This is starting to reminisce a bit of Antonio Brown's exit in Tampa Bay. Like, this is looking real bad for Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins' relationships. This is just speeding towards a breakup, and it is getting uglier and uglier and uglier, and his relationship with Tua seems irreparable at this point. So everything I've heard out of camp from the Dolphins has been that Jalen Waddle has been a stud, and we all know Jalen Waddle's a stud. I think it's time that the keys to the car are going to be handed over. Tyreek Hill's time has passed. Jalen Waddle's time has begun. And we are going to see Mike McDaniel, an offensive genius, funnel targets toward Jalen Waddle.
Okay. All right. It's Jalen Waddle off the board for Steven. And then we have at the 607, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice at the 608, Cortland Sutton coming off the board next. And then Eric, I was definitely considering DK Metcalf at the 601. You get him at the 610, though. Another guy you and I are both very bullish on, despite the fact that Arthur Smith doesn't usually produce high-end wide receivers. It's more the fact, for me at least, that Aaron Rodgers just targets the crap out of his number one option and not a lot of other pass-catching options in the wide receiver core for the Ayahuasca King.
Yeah, it's precisely that, right? You're getting to the point of draft where you're going to be hard pressed to find someone who's going to have like 25% target share plus in their offense, even if the offense is a little bit wobbly. Even if he doesn't, at least he hasn't shown the ability to separate and run clean routes to the way that we might have hoped when he was younger. We know that Aaron Rodgers loves to throw up those jump ball 50-50 balls and let him use his size advantage and go up and get it. So you have a volume floor because of that size advantage. There's a bit of scoring upside. More than happy with him as my wide receiver 3. And then on the loop back around, tapped into the running back market with actually a player that I'm finding myself getting a ton more of over the last 2-3 weeks or so. That being RJ Harvey. Obviously, when he was drafted, the hype train was off the rails. It was completely uncontrollable. People were talking about them as their dynasty running back 3 in this year's class, right? Like everyone was in, seemed like the opportunity was all his. Then they go out and they bring in J.K. Dobbins. We see Harvey listed as RB5 or 17 or whatever on the initial depth chart. And now his price has fallen to a point where I think it's actually pretty amenable, specifically with the role that I project him to take on in this offense. Javonte Williams left town and he vacated 70 targets at the running back position last year. That was the 5th most among all running backs. If you start looking at the guys in this backfield, RJ Harvey projects to get the vast majority of those targets going his way, and he will take on more and more early down work as the season goes on. So a player that I've kind of flipped back and forth on as his price is adjusted, but it's at a point right now where I'm getting a ton of them.
Jamie saying in the chat, all 3 of you are killing it through 6 rounds. That's appreciative, Jamie. I don't feel great about the 0 QB start, but we're out here living it. In between the picks for Eric was Devonta Smith at the 6'11", DeAndre Swift at the 6'12", Calvin Ridley, another Tennessee Titan off the board at the 701, and Jameson Williams at the 702. 704 after the RJ Harvey selection, Zay Flowers, Travis Hunter follows him, and Jalen Warren at 706. Steven, you are back on the board at the 707, and I like that you even put your full name in your team name. Wow, look at you.
Government name on there.
That you know what, it's because I'm a Fantasy Pros pro, right? So that's kind of how it goes. I'm an expert ranker and da. So I had to have that. Seth is really the only friend I have that calls me Steven ever. It's the craziest thing, and he does it, and now I just feel like I'm being scolded by my mom constantly. It's rough.
Steven rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. The 2 syllables makes it nice.
Yeah, you're right. Adding syllables always makes things easier to say. Like, just historically. Although I did find out, so because I have some time to kill before I'm actually back on the clock. My birthday is this week, right? I didn't find that out just.
Happy birthday! For
a while. Thank you. It's Sunday actually. So I'll be turning 32. But I was having my boyfriend's family was singing happy birthday to me, and some of them tried to say Steve in the song. And it turns out you can't really use 1-syllable names.
There you go. There you go. Yep.
So a lot of them threw this delayed N at the end of my name, and it was kind of funny.
Really? I think the play there is you got to drag out the E, right? Steve.
Yeah, some did that, but I heard a lot of.
You're in Wolf of Wall Street saying Steve Madden.
Yeah, I heard a lot of Steve Van.
After Steve's, Steve, I guess introduce your pick now at the 707. It's your second quarterback going to a little stack option down there in Carolina.
Yeah, at this point, I was like, you know what? Maybe a QB2 would be kind of nice. And then I passed. I thought the 6th round was too early. The 7th round in the Superflex feels just right for Bryce Young with the offense around Dave Canales down there in Carolina. I like the stack with Tedoroa McMillan. And I don't expect Bryce Young to do what he did at the end of last season. I really don't. But I've been wrong in the past, and I'd rather not be so wrong that I passed up on a solid QB2 in the 7th round of a Superflex.
Okay, well, there is the pick from Steve. And then after that pick, we also had a couple more between him and I. It is James Conner, Roma Dunze, George Pickens, Chris Olave. I would have loved any of those receivers. They were really the target here. However, I will go ahead and settle for my QB2. Michael Penix Jr., man, I just feel like we're getting him way too late right now, honestly. I think Michael Penix Jr. is a steal at this point. Not going to provide a lot of rushing upside, so I don't think he has quite the upside as a guy like J.J. McCarthy or a guy like Cam Ward even as well. But I think he's going to be a super steady quarterback too, not a ton of upside. But at this point in the draft, that's really what I'm looking for. So moving forward, at kind of a rock and a hard place, there's a lot of running backs. I would still love to grab an RB3 here with kind of my lack of depth at that position. But I still don't have a wide receiver 3, and just had a big tier break for me. The last guy in this tier, and I haven't drafted a ton of him, but I'll go ahead and make the selection of Jerry Jeudy with Joe Flacco at the helm to start the season. I think Jerry Jeudy gets off to a good start. My plan is play him early, then potentially ship him if we do see Shedeur Sanders or someone like Dylan Gabriel, who also looked great in preseason. So really, really good start there to a potential season for Jerry Jeudy. David Njoku off the board next, another Cleveland Brown, Jacoby Myers, Isaiah Pacheco, and Chris Godwin. Steve, you're back on the board in the 8th round. Where are you moving here now that you're starting to fill out the starting lineup?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a backward stack a bit here, and I'm going to go back to New England and get their wide receiver 1 for the season. I don't care how old he is. He looks great in training camp right now coming off of that ACL
He
tear.
does.
Give me Stephon Diggs. Give me Stephon Diggs. And honestly, there's no one else to really throw to. Pop Douglas is there, and he'll be fine. But it's Stephon Diggs' team this year. This is his year. Like, he signed a 3-year deal. I think they can get out of it pretty painlessly after this
Mhm.
season.
Mhm.
So they're going to use him, abuse him, and lose him. So I expect a solid target share to keep Drake May upright with a iffy offensive line. They're going to want to get
Mhm.
the ball out of his hands quick. Stephon Diggs is still a very good receiver in this league. I expect him to have a very, very, very strong season this year.
Tony Pollard off the board, the 807, 808, old man Cooper Kupp. I think he's a little bit older than Eric. So Eric, your predecessor there goes off the board. And then 809, Sam Laporta. Eric, you are back on the board now at the 810. Let's raise them up as we do roam off. And what's the pick here?
Man, reeling from that Sam Laporta pick, I was very much so looking forward to welcoming him to the squad. Instead, I'm going to stick in the ranks or stick in that position specifically. A guy that's a little bit of a step down in the ranks overall, but the player that I'll be selecting next either way, TJ Hawkinson. I do think that we'll see him continue his late season form where he really came on coming back from that injury.
Yeah,
But
you
I
like
also think
TJ.
that we can see him come out to a white hot start with the Jordan Addison suspension. So there's a world where TJ Hawkinson comes in and he immediately clicks with J.J. McCarthy because there is that those vacated targets coming from Jordan Addison,
Mhm.
and the sky is the limit for that. So a little bit earlier than I find myself taking him, but there were a handful of players that I was hoping would make their way back around to
Mhm.
me here in the 9th round, and I've got several of them to choose from. So I'm actually chewing this over live on the spot. I'll go with another player who the absence of his teammate will very likely boost up his
Oh,
beginning of the
God.
season.
Boo.
That being Emeka Egbuka, all of
Come
the glowing reports out
on.
of
Come
camp.
on.
Well, you guys
Boo.
both wanted Emeka Egbuka. You
Yes.
could have drafted
No.
him in the
No,
prior
I didn't
2
want him.
rounds.
I don't want
Well,
him. Boo.
What is it? He was the wide receiver 4 on the best wide receiver core ever assembled. Is that the
Never
thing
the
we're
best
doing?
wide receiver on his
Tell
own
that to
team.
Justin Jefferson. Tell that to Justin Jefferson.
Tell that to
We're
Brian
not,
Thomas
we're not
Jr.
going
last
down.
year.
There's no time for this discussion, and I'm not putting it back on the airwaves. Dave Montgomery in between that pick at the 811,
Boo.
Tyrone Tracy at the 812, Aaron Jones at the 901, Jordan Addison at the 902. So a couple wide receivers I was interested going off the board there. Joe Mixon at the 904, 905, Caleb Johnson, Matthew going at the 906, Steve, who hates competition at a high level. You're on the board now.
That's not fair that you made me park the conversation and then
We're not having it, dude.
I mean,
Justin
we've only had
Jefferson,
it like 5 times.
Yeah,
on the air.
yeah. And Justin Jefferson also was the same exact thing. So go ahead with your next pick. Sorry.
wasn't the same thing. He wasn't there for 4 years. But I went with Travis Etienne, the clear RB1 out of that group in Jacksonville. He is the most talented. He has the most locked down role, even if it is as the primary pass catching back. I'd rather have that than someone who's like kind of there some weeks, not there the other weeks. I need that surefire guy I can slot in as my RB whenever I need like someone to fill in. He's an RB3, right, for me. This isn't like I'm like reaching on Travis Etienne. We're in the 9th round at this point. I think the Etienne narrative has gotten way out of hand. I think we've lost the plot entirely on Travis Etienne. It's just gotten goofy at this point where people are like, he's useless. He shouldn't be drafted. Blah, 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 blah. He should be released. It's like, listen, it's not his fault that Urban Meyer was the worst coach in NFL history, okay? Like, that has nothing to do with Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair argument. For me, I still really like the fact that we could be seeing just a potential breakout season from Bashal Tootin there. He was the guy that I think that they really wanted there. So for me, I'm not, a huge fan of the ETN pick, but I certainly understand why you would make it. And you need another running back there. You have JT, you have your one in Bijan Robinson, so you did need to make a pick like that. So can understand why you went that way. I think you and I have both been seeing different sides of that situation. Eric, you're kind of are you kind of back in on ETN right now, or where are you?
Yeah, I'm completely back in on ETN. My only commentary is that it seems like the fantasy community is starting to click back in on Travis Etienne, largely after that first preseason game where he got the majority of the run with the in the first series with the starters. So his price tag is adjusting to a point that I'm less happy with, but the overall analysis still remains, right? Like, odds are we're very likely looking at some sort of split workload between him and Tank Bigsby, right? So that is the NFL in 2025. But specifically with Liam Cohen coming in, his Bucks last year were third in the league with 121 targets to the running back position. They had almost a 22% target share to running backs. And of those two likely starters, ETN is clearly going to be the priority as a pass catcher. So to get him at this point, he was someone that I was actually hovering over his name when I made the Emeka Ibuka pick. I was hoping he might make his way back because the algorithm has not caught up to the fantasy football community hype machine. But apparently, Steve is in there to foil my plans yet again. I love the pick.
All right, Zach Charbonnet off the board at the 908, 909. Deebo Samuel starting to hear a little bit of a drumbeat for Deebo as well. As of lately, 9-10 Quinshaw Judkins, 9-11 Brian Robinson, and then I'm going with Ricky Pearsall at the 9-12. Love getting someone who has as much upside as Ricky Pearsall. Again, we said it last week in our breakouts episode, Eric, like, don't take your guns to town. I mean, I get a do-over for last year, call him as a breakout because, you know, someone had to take their guns to town. So love getting him there. Really, really happy with that pick. And kind of in an interesting situation here, gentlemen, honestly, where don't love the board outside of that. It's a big tier break for me. I do need to lock it in an RB3 though. And I haven't done it all off season, and but he's the next highest running back in my rankings is Javonte Williams. So I will take Javonte Williams here at the turn to begin this 10th round. And I just think, dude, like Jaden Blue is just a guy. Miles Sanders is on his last leg. And I just think that Javonte is going to have a big role in a high-scoring offense. Is going to run a ton of plays because their defense is absolutely cheek. So give me Javonte Williams as kind of just a guy I can plug in when Henderson's on a bye, when someone like Josh Jacobs is on a bye. Ramondre Stevenson off the board at the 10:02. Cam Scatterbu off the board at the 10:03. Cam has usually been my pick where I would have taken Javonte, but I'm a little bit lower now due to this hamstring injury that we heard Deepak Chona on Twitter saying this week that might not be ready to go here early in the season. So a little bit lower on Cam Scatterbu. Don't hate the pick to go off the board at the 10:03. J.K. Dobbins, trendy guy, also creeping up draft boards at the 10:04. 10:05, Khalil Shakir. And then Steve, you make the pick of Evan Ingram at the 10:06. Tell me why.
Because he's a top 5 tight end and no one's talking about him. We saw what he did in that first drive with Denver. He took like a 60-yard pass or something crazy like that off of a little flat. He's crazy athletic. And again, I've said this every time we talk about Evan Ingram, and it's like, I don't know, I'm like screaming into the void at this point. This is the only offensive player that the Broncos went into the offseason and like targeted. And we're like, we're getting him. We need him. That's who we want. And everyone's ignoring it. Like as if he didn't go from a situation that was iffy to a situation where we know Sean Payton can make tight ends like borderline wide receiver ones. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who's an excellent offensive mind and they needed him. They went out and said publicly, we need a guy, and went and made Evan Ingram the guy. And nobody seems to care. And it's driving me crazy. But I'll take the discount.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. I feel mixed on Ingram. I think there are other tight ends that I would have rather waited for. I would have, be more content with a Mark Andrews, even a Kelsey later on. And of course, you guys know the other tight end I'm thinking about in my head. But Evan Ingram, he does have a lot of upside if he can stay healthy. I think that's going to be the big question mark. Could slot in as the second top pass catching option in an improving Broncos offense. Jordan Mason off the board at the 10:07. Jaden Blue, 10:08. Najee Harris at the 10:09. And then Braylon Allen to you, Eric. So you are believing that this really is going to be a split out there in those streets up in New York City.
Yes, and all I have are, I don't know, like 7 to 8 consecutive seasons of these play callers splitting workloads amongst their running backs whenever they have the opportunity, right? So the Braylon Allen value is still one of the easiest clicks on all of the board for me, and it's one of the biggest head scratchers, right? Like every single time you see an analysis, you see a mock draft, we have Breece Hall going further and further and further down the board. Yet Braylon Allen's ADP has been where it's been for the last 3 months. Like I don't understand how these two things are not starting to intersect and overlap. So I'm happy to take the value there. Obviously, the upside is a little bit capped because Breece Hall will have a role to play, but I think we're going to be looking at a very run-centric offense for the New York Jets this year, and there should be enough for both of these guys to eat in the system.
Okay, fair enough. And keeping it moving to end out the 10th round, Trey Benson, Tyjae Spears, and then we enter the 11th round. The double-digit plus rounds, Rashad White goes off the board first, Ray Davis, and then you did it for the people, Eric. You did it for the people out in those X streets. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill Krosky-Merritt, BCM, JCM, a man of many names, and a man certainly rising up draft boards quickly.
Yeah, call me Ishmael, call me Bill, whatever you like. I'm bought in on the hype, but there needs to be a word of caution. To the IBT faithful out there, you may recall us talking about him on this podcast weeks and weeks ago.
Bear in
right?
mind or BS, yes.
Where you do not want to jump in immediately, but when there's a trend emerging and that line is pointing in a clear direction, you also don't want to be too late on that trend. There's a couple of factors at play here. If you look at the board, we are in the midst of a hell of a running back run. It's like all but 7 of the last 27 picks have been running backs. So there are guys that honestly I would much rather have in the 11th round than Bill Krosky-Merritt. But we're looking at the board, and there aren't very many guys that have the upside to potentially lead their backfield and break into my starting lineup among the available running backs. So
agreed.
The 11th round, the days of getting him in that position are probably behind us. If you're not talking about Superflex, he's going more in like the 8th, 9th, 10th.
Yeah.
I would much rather have him in the 12, but when the board dries up like that, and I've got a good, almost 2 dozen picks between my selections, gotta get where you fit in, right?
Yeah, and I even thought about JCM all the way back to open up the 10th round. So, Eric, it's definitely on the mind right now. I've had a lot of people shooting me some low ball offers in Dynasty. F off. Like, that's all I'm going to say is just like leave the room, see yourself out. Before we keep it moving, too, I did want to say good night to our radio audience down there in Talkin, West Tennessee. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel at IBT_media to get the full length video or the podcast version wherever you get your podcast. And let's continue on here. Geno Smith, another quarterback, the first one, and I mean, rounds and rounds. And we're talking 5. I think the last quarterback pick was me with Michael Penix. Geno goes off the board at the 11:04. 11:05, Jawan Jennings. Darnell Mooney off the board next. And then, Steve, you take a receiver there in Indianapolis. Is it the restored faith in the passing game with Daniel Jones named the starter that made you go with someone like Josh Downs?
No, it's not anything. Daniel Jones factored in exactly 0% into that discussion. It's just Josh Downs is the best wide receiver there. He is the most talented wide receiver on that roster. I think he fits both quarterback styles. He's very good at the short stuff, but he's also weirdly a deep threat for Anthony Richardson. It's a very strange way they use Josh Downs, but this is a guy who injuries early in his career really hurt his value overall. Like, he came out hurt, and like the world seemed to just forget that he existed, and the disrespect has just been awful toward Josh Downs. He's a talented player. I expect a good year out of him. We saw, what happened when he had a competent quarterback. I trust the talent, and at this point in drafts, you just go with talent. Like, that's where you're going at this point.
Okay, Josh Downs off the board to Steve at the 11:07. Travis Kelce just made a podcasting record last week for New Heights, so congrats to him and Tay and Jason and the gang. off the board at the 11:08. Nick Chubb coming in at the 11:09. Michael Pittman Jr. at the 11:10. Austin Eckler. And then I went with Jaden Reed at the 11:12. Just feels like a really nice value all the way. I know it's super flex, but 11th round. I know there's the injury. I know Matthew Golden hype is real. But Jaden Reed is a guy who produces when he's on the field with his quarterback, Jordan Love. It's an insane run. I think he had something like I want to say like 8 touchdowns in his first 10 games with Jordan Love. Someone stat check me on that, but it was something absurd. So really like getting him there. And then I have to do it again. Give me another rookie running back. Give me Bayshal Tootin. I called Steve out earlier. Didn't love the ETN pick. And it's because I think Bayshal Tootin could be this year's Bucky Irving. Maybe it's cliche. Maybe it's reading too much into Liam Cohen in the room, but I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Get my RB4 in Bayshal Tootin. I took the safe guy in Javonte Williams, so I want the upside in Tootin. 12:02, Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford off the board at the 12:03, Mark Andrews at the 12:04, Rico Dowell at the 12:05. Steve, do I even need the analysis? We know you're a Keon Coleman guy. You take Keon Coleman at the 12:06.
Yeah, no, if you've been a member of the IBT podcast for a while, you know I love Keon Coleman, both because he was a Seminole and because big body, faster than his 40 times said, and he's the number 1 wide receiver in Buffalo right now, and Shakir's hurt, so he's only getting more reps with Josh Allen. It's wheels up for
Wheels up.
Keon Coleman.
Ben checking in. What's up, Ben? Great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Hope you're having a great week out there in Nevada. Isaac Garendo off the board at 12:07. Tyler Warren off the board at 12:08. I was getting greedy. I was thinking about taking Tyler Warren if he could come back to me once more. I was looking at him, even though I have Brock Bowers, boys. I was eyeing up maybe a little double tight end lineup there with my guy Tyler Warren. I think he's a sensational pick. I think you continue to draft Tyler Warren. I don't think he has quite the upside Bowers had last year, but still very much top 6 upside at the position. Eric, you go Danny Dimes then at the 12:10, locking in your, I believe, 3rd quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, going with the 3rd quarterback here. I think Daniel Jones is not only the more effective passer in this offense, but he still contributes enough on the ground to be a nice speculative add. And this is exactly the type of guy that I'm looking for when I have 2 locked in starters up at the top. I want to get a little bit of upside with that 3rd quarterback. I think that's exactly what I'm getting here with Danny Dimes. He may or may not play all 17 games over the course of the season, but I think whether it's by injury, whether it's by merit, he's got a good chance to start the majority of them for the Colts, and that's kind of hard to come by at this point in draft. From here, boy, does it get ugly. There's a saying that I was told as I was coming up: when someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them. And I believe that the Bears told us exactly their intention with Colston Loveland by spending the draft capital they did on him and by heavily featuring him both in downfield and highly schemed up routes that we've seen Ben Johnson create successes out of Sam Laporta with. So here in the 13th round, might be able to rotate this guy into my flex on a weekly basis. Happy to get that type of upside this late in the draft.
Okay, he's happy. He's gleeful. He adds someone like Colston Loveland there. In between those picks, Tucker Kraft, Zach Ertz to begin the 13th round. Then Christian Kirk, Tyler Algier, Jalen Wright comes off the board at 13:04 after Loveland at 13:03. Dylan Sampson, Roshan Johnson. Steven, back up on the board at 13:07. What do? You still need a 3rd quarterback if you want to go that route. You have your tight end. You have ample depth at wide receiver and running back. So board's open.
Yeah, I'm torn. And you know what? I was hopeful that Eric wasn't going to take the guy that I kind of wanted on this turn, and he didn't. I'm going to take who's currently a backup to Danny Dimes and the better quarterback in my opinion. Give me AR-15.
Untrue.
I listen, at some point it's inevitable. It's like Thanos said, he is inevitable, and it may not be that Anthony Richardson's inevitable, but Daniel Jones is going to be bad. It's just what he is. He's just a bad quarterback in the NFL. He will get benched.
The contradiction between your love for Justin Fields and your hate for Danny Dimes is wild. Both objectively bad quarterbacks, but very good fantasy assets.
So I can justify it if you'll allow me the time.
You got 30 seconds.
All right. Justin Fields
Tick.
has will not lose you games. He will win you games with his legs. He may not win you many games with his arms, but he very rarely will lose you a game. Daniel Jones will find magical ways to lose you games in ways that you can't even imagine losing them. Like, oh, I don't know, having a wide open 80-yard run and finding a way to trip over the paint at the midfield stripe. Like, what on earth goes through Daniel Jones's head on a day-to-day must be like a nightmare fuel, because this guy has found more creative ways to absolutely botch a game than anyone I've ever seen.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, I don't think I was 30 seconds. It might have been 35, but pretty close. So I appreciate that nonetheless. And keeping it moving here in the 13th round, Blake Corum, Jonnu Smith, Brandon Ayuk, Kareem Hunt. I go Jaden Higgins at the 13-12. Again, just give me another rookie who's going to see the field with someone as talented as CJ Stroud. I'm very, very happy to pick up someone like Higgins in that spot. Someone I think is going to give me a little bit of depth at that wide receiver position, could have high upside by the end of the season. And I'll go ahead now. I think it's time to, not waste any more draft capital and go ahead and select my quarterback 3. It's not sexy. It's not fun, but I'll get the predecessor to my J.J. McCarthy. I'll add Sam Darnold here. I know that Seahawks offensive line is shaky in the pass blocking, but they've been good in the run game. If they can continue to work on that in play action, maybe, just maybe, there's enough with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, and Torrey Horton and company out there. So very happy with getting someone like Sam Darnold there. Jake Ferguson off the board at the 14-02. Marshawn Lloyd, Rashid Shaheed, Matthew Stafford, Kyle Pitts, and Steve, once again, Kyle Pitts is the pick for you.
Yep, most athletic tight end in the NFL. Great situation. Everything out of camp says he's looking good, has built a good rapport with Michael Penix. I've said this over and over again, but for the listeners who may be new, Kyle Pitts, yes, we have saddled him with top 3 expectations year over year over year, but he's consistently given us a top 12 finish, and he's consistent, but he's going at like tight end 19 in drafts or 17. And it's just that, listen, he may not be the elite guy that we thought he was, but he's certainly startable. And like what he can do with one touch is unmatched by most guys in the NFL in terms of the tight end position. So I see no reason to not take the shot on him late.
Okay. Keenan Allen off the board at the 14-07. Justice Hill at the 14-08. Dalton Kincaid coming off the board next. And then Eric, you go Woody Marks here at the 14-10. Is this more just, hey, I'm going to continue to grab some handcuffs to Joe Mixon? We saw Dameon Pierce one day working in with the starters. It seems like the Nick Chubb era has begun, though, in Houston. But Woody Marks still a very, very talented, high upside rookie running back there for a team that might need his services.
The Nick Chubb era has begun, according to whom? Those 5 snaps
did I miss something
in the one preseason game last weekend?
They're not going to.
They're not going to. Of the era.
He's another guy who doesn't need to see a ton of snaps in the preseason. He's getting the
yeah,
best
he does. Yeah, he does.
Absolutely does. We don't know if his legs function anymore. Like, this is a dude they got off the scrap heap where they went out and traded very legitimate 3rd-round capital to acquire Woody Marks services when guys like some of the players you drafted on your team were still on the board, right? Like, the Texans went out and got their guy. Obviously, there is risk and uncertainty with anyone that you're drafting in the 14th round, but I'm looking for guys that potentially step into or grow into a significant role in their offense. The health situation around Joe Mixon is murky at best. The health situation around Nick Chubb is shady at best. Like, this guy has been through so many catastrophic injuries. There's no way they're banking on him being around there. So if I have to sit on Woody Marks for a few weeks while he takes the job in a perfect scheme for his skill set, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Dallas Goedert at the 14-11, Hunter Henry at the 14-12, Rashad Bateman 15-01, Adam Thielen 15-02, and then Jackson Dart, just a high upside guy you're shooting for at the quarterback position for later in the season, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Whether it is injury with some of my mobile options in Jaden Daniels or Daniel Jones, whether it is Daniel Jones not holding that job as long as we like, I want to have a viable option to back up my starters in a Superflex format. And I'm the guy that's not shy about hoarding quarterbacks in this format.
Yep.
Right? There are now plenty of teams that are going to be rolling out there with 2 quarterbacks and scrambling on bye week. So I now have plenty in my coffers to go out and deploy as needed.
Okay, it is Jackson Dart for Eric. Will Shipley comes next. Taysom Hill, Aaron Rodgers, Ollie Gordon for you, Steve, for your last pick. Eric or Steve, is that more of a pick? Just hey, Devon Achane banged up right now a little bit. It looks like Ollie Gordon has been the much better running back, despite running behind someone like Jalen Wright in the preseason. That really the pick for Ollie Gordon. I know you were high on him in the process as well, so just kind of a process meet situation pick for you.
Yeah, it's become glaringly obvious that the Dolphins need a power back. And I have pounded the pavement or pounded like the table for Ollie Gordon. I have been aggressive in saying that Ollie Gordon is every bit as good as just about any running back in this draft. Yeah, he may not be as fast, but I think he's as good. And listen, one disastrous year, and listen, it was a disastrous year at Oklahoma State, but it was disastrous for everybody involved. Luther Burden suffered. Ollie Gordon suffered. Everybody suffered in that offense. It was a disaster that no one can really point to and say what happened. But either Ollie Gordon forgot how to be a running back, because we were talking about this guy as a potential first-round pick before last season. I don't believe he forgot how to play the game. I don't.
Okay. Well, it is Ollie Gordon, and I think you did cross some wires there with the Luther Burden reference.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's at Missouri, but
I mean, same type of season, right? Yeah. Isaiah Likely off the board 1508, Shador Sanders at the 1509, Russell Wilson comes next, Cedric Tillman after that. For me, give me a guy who I think will get the nod at some point this season. Whether they like it or not, give me Tyler Shuck as the quarterback 4. I'm very happy with that. Thought about Joe Flacco, but with the growing pulse for Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders, I think it's only right if I go ahead and take Tyler Shuck there. So the grades are in, folks. Here we go. The grades are in. Draft review and analysis. Let's get to it. Well, I see right away. Consensus grade for the kid, 95%, going 0 quarterbacks. The experts love it. Once again, I'm hosting, I'm doing reads, and still absolutely loving my team is the expert. So gotta like that. I come in at the first overall team in the projected standings. Team 6 is next. Team 1, Eric, comes in 4th. And Steve, all the way down at 9, but potentially still a good run for you. Let's go ahead and let's recap each of our teams for us. We can talk and anything else we want. I had a 95% grade. What kind of grade did you guys get on your teams?
I landed with a solid 88, shiny B+.
Steve?
I got an 81, a B-.
Okay.
Ooh, you flunky.
Okay. That's still pretty good. I've gotten a lot of 70s in this.
Well,
in
listen
this
to this, right? Because they give you a lot of feedback, and this is why I disagree, because they're saying I should have drafted Brian Thomas Jr. over Drake May.
No. Yeah. Well, he wasn't getting back to you. So yeah, no, I understand. So I'll go ahead and run through my team. Fantasy Pros is telling me right now, overall, they think I have the best team. A lot of that is because I have the best wide receivers, the best tight end. They also think I have the strongest bench, and I'm 7th best at running back. I do have the worst quarterback. They say I have the worst super flex as well. So definitely fighting an uphill battle. But this is the type of team, if you're going to go 0 quarterback, that you have to build. You have to have some type of upside at those other positions. I'll run through here. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson for me at that 1-2 turn, drafted from the 12th spot. Brock Bowers fell all the way at the end of the 3rd, had to scoop him up. Josh Jacobs, J.J. McCarthy, Travion Henderson, Michael Penix Jr., Jerry Jeudy, Ricky Pierce. So that really kind of rounds out my starting lineup there. And then on the bench, Javonte Williams, Jaden Reed, Bashaw Tootin, Jaden Higgins, and then Sam Darnold, Tyler Shuck. So really kind of insulated myself there with 4 guys who I think will start for the majority of the season, despite not having a ton of upside at the quarterback position. Eric, do you like this team? Do you like this approach, or do you think I'm going to be fighting an uphill battle at the Superflex and quarterback position that's going to be too big to overcome despite my absolutely stacked position players?
I think that this team will be competitive in Superflex specifically. I find it really hard to break through if you don't have at least one top tier option at the quarterback position, right? Top 5 guys. So you've got a couple of guys that on the very high end of their range of outcomes in J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. could theoretically get there, but we're talking about like single digit likelihoods that they do. If they have that type of ceiling season, then this team probably runs away with it. If I'm you specifically, I would kick Shuck to the curb, because we know that McCarthy and Penix are starting for the whole of the season, assuming that they're healthy. And I would actually handcuff your third quarterback and go with the rookie there, Jalen Milroe in Seattle, and try to tap into some of that upside.
No, that ain't happening. They're not paying Sam Darnold that money just to go with Jalen Milroe, who's as raw as it gets as a prospect.
Yeah, because Seattle has no
paying
history
Sam
of
Darnold
paying
that money to stand back there and throw interceptions all day when he gets pressured nonstop.
Seattle definitely doesn't have a history of paying quarterbacks and then benching them immediately either.
What kind of bet do you want to make here, boys? I'll put whatever you want on it. If you want to do a case of Busch Light, another and actually, Eric, you didn't make the expo, so you already owe me a 1 case of Busch Light here.
Caser. Corn cans.
So you want to make it 2 then, double or nothing?
Yeah, I don't know what the specific line that you're setting is.
The bet would be that Jalen Milroe does not start a game this season outside of injury or a Week 18 bye resting situation. That's my line.
So over under non-injury starts a half a game essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take the over.
Okay. All right.
I'll also take that over.
Okay, well, Steve, you can. I'll get you in on this as well. I know you're a Guinness fan, so we'll do not a case of Guinness, maybe a 6-pack, maybe a 12-pack, something like that. But Steve, go ahead, round out your team here. What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? And please go through your roster as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna need your assistance with this one because I did it on my phone and it doesn't show me. So I got Bijan, Malik Neighbors, Drake May, Jonathan Taylor, Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Bryce Young, Stephon Diggs. Scroll down on the screen for me.
Okay, hold on. We're getting there. All right, there you go.
There I go. What? All right, thank you. Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram, Josh Downs, Keon Coleman, my guy, Anthony Richardson, Kyle Pitts, and Ollie Gordon II. Fantasy Pros does have me as the best running back room in the league, which makes sense considering I got Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor. I rounded that out with some help with Travis Etienne. I think my team's strength, honestly, is these kind of like steals I got from Tet, Jalen, and Diggs. I think that's just really where the value was for my draft, and Bryce Young even. They went like a round later than I expected each one of them to go. So I feel like I got a lot of steals in this draft. It is a riskier draft than a lot of people want to stomach, but you got to risk it for the biscuit. So
risk it for the biscuit. Eric, give us your team as well as the analysis to follow.
Yeah, so chose this early draft slot so that I can get an elite option at the quarterback position, that being Jaden Daniels specifically in the 3rd pick. Followed it up with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Chase Brown, a couple of guys that legitimately and relatively easily could finish as top 5 options at their position both. And then went with one of my favorite later round targets for my second quarterback, Jordan Love, a guy that throws to the end zone a lot. In the middle parts of the draft, wanted to round out my receiving core, went with Terry McLaurin because I am in no way worried about whether or not he is stretching or conditioning while he is not with his team, and DK Metcalf, who will have well north of a 20% target share in this offense. RJ Harvey as my running back 2, guy who I love his target volume. And from that point, it gets a little bit wobbly. I wanted to get into TJ Hawkinson because I thought there was a pretty clear tier break at the tight end position and kind of a dead zone elsewhere in the board, but not exactly the round where I wanted to select a player like that. Emeka Egbuka, a wide receiver that can start off white hot to open the year with Chris Godwin sidelined, and now Jalen McMillan dealing with an injury. And then things really got hairy. I love the Egbuka pick on merit, but had I known that I would see 20 running backs go off the board before it was my turn again, I probably would have selected a running back with that pick. Instead, I get Braylon Allen, one of the value running backs that I've been targeting all off season, hopped on the hype train with Bill Merritt, and then started to really throw some darts at upside, be it with Daniel Jones, Colston Loveland, Woody Marks, and rounding out with Jackson Dart in the 15th round.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. That is our Superflex redraft mock draft. And go ahead, let us know down in the comments below who you think had the best team. We want to hear from you. We have Rachel checking in. What's up, Rachel? Great to see Rachel out there at the Expo. Had a great time at karaoke. Hope you're having a great evening. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. And we got Joe with a quick listener question before we round it out here. Thoughts on taking Josh Allen at the 2-3 turn in a 10-man league? So we usually don't like the, onesies positions, but in 10-team leagues, Eric, does this change anything for you?
A little bit, but not to the point where it would change my answer to this specific question, right? The shorter the league, 8-10 person leagues, the more upside really matters at the position. But at the 2-3 turn, if you punt that around to the 4-5 turn, there's a decent likelihood that one of the other big four will be there waiting for you. So I would rather shore up an elite option either at running back or wide receiver with the 2-3 turn, and then get very likely, QB3 or QB4 off the board as you turn on 4 and 5.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I don't hate taking Allen there. If you're a Bills fan, Joe, if you're in that Mafia gang and it's something that's going to make your season a little bit more fun, I don't hate it in a 10-team league. I definitely wouldn't do it. I don't think in a 12-team league, but if you want to get invested there, I don't blame you. But I do agree with Eric that there's just you're going to be having a positional gap there at running back or wide receiver. So probably wouldn't make that move. But guys, that is going to do it for us tonight on the In Between Fantasy Football podcast. Thank you so much for everyone who's rode along with us this long. If you have, please do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up. I see we have about 9-10 people hanging out with us. So if each of you do that, you'll help push us in the algorithm, help get us to more people. So we'd really, really appreciate that. And make sure you're subscribing to the whole channel as well. We've got really all the time here for you. Fantasy football, NFL betting content, college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, and entertainment betting as well, all to help you cash more and to enjoy the ride along the way. Also, be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com for some fire written content out there on the wire. For Eric Romoff, Stephen Lawson, and of course, Kyle Scott, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care. Thanks for watching and keep it in between till next time.